So welcome everybody. My name is Kristen Brogy. We've probably met once or twice over Zoom already. And today's session on record keeping is going to be presented by Sarah Antonelli. We are a super small group. You are welcome to mute, unmute as needed. If you'd like to turn your camera on, I find it sometimes helpful to see other people's faces as well. And as I said, this is going to be a pretty short session, but the record keeping is going to be very important as we move through this project. So thank you very much. And Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Kristen. So this particular session is geared towards the registered libraries, obviously. And what we are going to talk about today is why some record keeping is necessary and exactly what does that mean for you. It is not a huge requirement, but it is something we'll need to collect quarterly is sort of the summary of it all. So Plainfield's goal in this program is to provide libraries with training and resources to help increase access to digital literacy in a sustainable way. PPL, Plainfield, will need to know and report on how both you and we are meeting the goals that the New Jersey State Library has presented to us. Both of our record keeping will help provide the data that we need. For example, Plainfield, we, Kristen and I and Colleen, will need to track and report on the number of libraries registered, as an example, attendance in our workshops and open office hours, badges we award, one-on-one meetings, etc. Right? These metrics are reported to New Jersey State Library. Therefore, record keeping is important in tracking our goals. So you also will need to know how well you're meeting your own goals, understanding that each library's goals are going to be different. How will you know how well you've done this? Of course, with a little bit of record keeping. Why else is record keeping necessary? Well, should you want to expand your services further post this year, 2023, funding may be needed. So in order to convince funders to award you money, record keeping is necessary. The ability to provide those metrics will increase your chances of obtaining funding. Ultimately, it's up to each library how much client data you want to document. However, the following slide is going to demonstrate the minimum data required upon registering for this program. In fact, only some very basic data is required by you for this program, and we will collect it from you quarterly and report on your behalf to New Jersey State Library. So on this slide, you will see the very basic data required for each library to report to us on a quarterly basis as part of the program. So as I mentioned, we will collect the data from all libraries and report to State Library on your behalf. We've prepared some sample Excel spreadsheets that may be used to facilitate the collection of the data. And as I also mentioned, we need to collect that information from you quarterly. However, you may want to collect the data monthly if it helps facilitate the process for you. These spreadsheets can be found in Canvas. That's our central resource tool that we're using for the program. And you can also use your own method of collecting the data as well. So particularly the monthly data sheet that we'll show you is just an example. You don't have to use that one, but it's meant to collect the data that we will need for the quarterly submission. So the data required, as you see on this screen, will be, this is for you, the number of clients served within the quarter, the number of hours of service, which would include any workshops that you've offered, a North Star usage, one-on-ones, the number of workshops run, certifications attained by your clients like North Star certifications, and any successes. And you know what? If you don't have any data to report in any given quarter, that's fine. Just let us know that there is no data to report. Hi, Kathleen. We've just kicked off, so.
Hello, thank you.
So here's an example, and I know that's not very easy to see, but here's an example of the quarterly spreadsheet, which needs to be provided to Plainfield by each of you. Timing would be the first week of the following quarter. So first quarter metrics will need to be delivered first week of April, and so on. This spreadsheet is available in Canvas, as I said before, and it's in there by month so that you can easily complete each one of these quarterly spreadsheets. This is an example of Q1 data. As you can see, very exaggerated numbers in here, if you can see the numbers, so not real. Submitted the first week of April and documenting the total number of clients served, total hours of service, total workshops run, certifications attained by students, and there you go. So very, very basic, simple data. Therefore, we'll be collecting this Q1 data the first week of April. I'm going to just stop there a second to see if anybody has any questions before I show you the monthly Excel.
I have a quick question. Sorry. How are you going to be collecting the data? Do we submit it in Canvas, or is somebody going to email us to request it?
But we'll email, absolutely. We will remind you to send it in, and you can just send it in by email. It's perfectly fine.
And just a quick question, another quick question. If we end up not using North Star, is that going to be like, should we just
say zero? Just say, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
No problem.
everybody will use whichever tools are working best for you. We're just separating them out based on sort of the types of training.
Okay.
So on the screen right now is an example of a monthly tracking sheet, which is just meant to facilitate the quarterly data collection process on your part. It doesn't need to be forwarded to us. You don't have to use it if you have a better way to collect the data. And you can see, you can use any similar form of capturing it. This spreadsheet is also in Canvas, and you will see here as an example, if you can read it, for the month of January, the clients that Kristen and I served, again, this is all fake data, what services were provided, the number of hours per client, etc. This information is totaled up to produce the quarterly data that we need. Any questions there?
Yeah, this one is just for us, not, you don't.
That's
need
just for
this
you. Yeah,
okay.
that's just for you. All we need is that quarterly sheet.
Okay.
So how you collect and track the information, how would you do that? You know, again, that's up to you. Usually on your part, probably sign-in sheets are likely all you need, particularly if you are offering workshops or providing drop-in computer help. This way you can keep track of who you served and what and when services were provided as it occurs. This will also assist in creating for yourself whatever you need, mailing lists, wait lists. You can use this information to populate the monthly tracking sheets if you'd like. Other forms of documentation I wanted to just bring up and just be aware of, that there's something called an intake form, which was used by the hub and spoke libraries. Obviously, Maria, you remember this form. And it requires more information on the student. It's useful when providing services under government-funded programs. So since this particular program is not government funded on your end, you don't need to use the intake form. But just keep it in mind, should the services at your library be expanded at some point in the future that do require government funding. And there will be a workshop later in the program to help understand working with community partners and the funding process. Scott Kaczynski, our principal, will be presenting that particular workshop. Does any library already use LACES perhaps to track metrics? No, that is a reporting tool that we use here in Plainfield to capture this type of data. And it also documents certifications and other benchmarks that students have earned. So some libraries across the state may already be using this particular form of data capture. And if they do, then they can just, do a dump of the data on a quarterly basis for us as well. But keep in mind that for this labor and literacy library program, use of the intake form and LACES is absolutely not required. This is just to give you an idea of other tracking tools and the importance in tracking data. Of course, working with the public, you already know this, I'm sure, people can get a little nervous about providing any type of personal information. Any client information you collect needs to be kept secure and confidential. Name, contact information, what their goals are, etc. And any reporting we do will never include names or contact information. It's really just the numbers that we're interested in reporting to State Library. That's all they need to collect. So assure your clients that we're there to help them. And in order to do so, we need them to help us by supplying some basic information. And on here, and I'll read the statement, but, should clients be concerned about why, about the collection of data? Why is personal data necessary? This is, a lot of free public library. Why do you need to know my name, kind of thing? This response will help explain. We need some basic information in helping us identify you in our system to be able to stay in touch with you about the roadmap and goals we create together. Some of the details are for generalized reporting on the populations of clients who are taking advantage of our service, and we will never share details that allow any one person to be identified. Any questions? As I said, this was a pretty simple and short presentation, just to make sure that you are aware of that requirement that you'll have to report some numbers to us on a quarterly basis. We will prompt you, we'll remind you. And if you need help pulling the data together, just reach out. We're happy to assist.
And I just want to check, because Sarah did mention that, pardon me, there are some sample forms that you can utilize that are in Canvas. Does everybody have access to Canvas who's here? Do you remember how to get to Canvas? Is that something we need to take a quick look at? I don't see lots of yes or no's. I always take silence as I know what I'm doing. I don't need you.
Yeah, I have access to it. I use it.
Okay, great.
I have access and I use it as well.
Thanks, Maria. All right, well, you all can reach out separately if you need some support with Canvas. As with anything, you can reach out, but I just wanted to check in on that.
There's going to be so much great information input in there. All of our recordings will be in there from all of these sessions. There's just, it's just a great resource tool and pretty easy to maneuver, I think. All right, well, that's all I had, unless anybody has any questions, or Kristen and I can stay on if you have any one-on-one questions for us. Thank you so much for joining.